morning. Today's lecture will discuss degrees of freedom and the related equations named as Grubbler's criteria and Kuchbach's equation. So these things today we'll discuss. Before I go for directly to the degrees of freedom, the background what you require for degrees of freedom, that yesterday the preliminary part what we have discussed, that is links, joints and pairs, those things in 5 minutes. I will first give the brief review of the previous article, then we will enter into today's lecture, degrees of freedom. So let us see what we have covered in the yesterday's lecture is kinematic pairs according to nature of relative motion, kinematic pairs based upon their nature of contact. We made it, one is higher pair and another one is a lower pair. So what is higher pair and what is lower pair and what are the examples we covered under that category? Let us see. So in case of higher pair, the contact between the two members is either point contact or line contact. The examples which we have stated under that category is, one is like your cam and follower and another one is gears and another one is a bearing. That is higher pair. Then lower pair, in lower pair where the area of the contact completely, surface area is going to be in touch with two members when they are meshing. So that category is called a lower pair. We have seen under that example like a piston in the cylinder where there is a complete surface area is in contact, like there is a machine tool carriage on the guideways, complete surface area is in contact, like a shaft in a journal bearing where the complete surface area is in contact. So those are the one classification, lower and higher pairs. And another classification what we have seen is the very important classification is this, kinematic pairs according to their nature of relative motion. So we said there are major 3 types of things are there. One is sliding, turning and rolling. The rest of the 2 are similar to the above or a combination of it. So in a sliding pair where the relative motion is pure sliding and you can see a rectangular object in a rectangular hole. So if you move the one of the object, then entire surface area is in contact and it is a pure sliding action. And whereas in a turning pair where there is a circular cylinder is in a circular hole, when you move one of this member, then it forms a pair called turning pair. A rolling pair, like a ball bearing in a inner and outer race of a bearing where the ball will roll, which is called rolling pair. Then we said screw pair and spherical pair. A screw pair is nothing but like moving a screw which advances simultaneously as it rotates. So you can see here it is rotating as well as it is advancing. An example for this is a bolt and nut. And a spherical pair, that is where a pen stand is given an example where a pen can be rolled in whatever the direction you want to pick up that. So this is another classification which we have discussed, the kinematic pairs according to relative motion. Then coming to the next, we have seen the types of motions, that is completely constrained motions, incompletely constrained motion and partially or successfully constrained motion. In case of completely constrained motion, if you give an input to at one location, that is the only possibility that that object can move in that way. You can see a rectangular bar with a square hole and there is a square prismatic bar is inserted. So this square prismatic bar can only translated here it can be only translated, so it can be only moved like this. It cannot be rolled. It cannot be rolled. It can be only slided. Similar, there is another case where there is a circular shaft. The circular shaft can be rolled here, but it cannot be moved like this because its ends are prevented by collars. Even though the circular hole can be reciprocated, but the constraints here, collars, will not permit to move in longitudinal direction. This is not at all possible. Only the possibility is the rotation. So that type of motion is called completely constrained. Here only sliding permitted, no rolling, no rotation. Here rotation permitted, here rotation permitted, and no sliding. Even though the geometry permits, but the constraints which we have given will not permit it to slide. This is called completely constrained motion. Then coming to incompletely constrained motion, similar example of this as given here, a circular hole in a circular object, but collars are not available, so this can be rolled and this can be slided. Either this can be rolled or this can be slided. This is called incompletely constrained motion. And finally, partially or successfully constrained. Here you can see there is a shaft placed vertically in a bearing. So as per the geometry is concerned, you can say this can roll and this can reciprocate also. So that it comes under incompletely constrained, but it is not so. Why it is not so is this motion is not at all permitted because there is a vertically downward load is applied. It will not allow to move in the y direction. It only permits to roll in the this rotation fashion. That is why it is called partially or successfully constrained motion. This is another thing what we have discussed in the last lecture. Then now for today's lecture, this degrees of freedom, we require first type of joints. Yesterday we have seen a link like 2 ends, 3 ends, 4 ends are connected to different other links called binary link, ternary link and quaternary link. So here same thing I have explained, taking a mechanism or taking one assembly of links. What is a binary joint, what is a ternary joint and what is a quaternary joint. How the ternary joint can be converted into binary joint, how the quaternary can be converted into binary joints. Let us see. Here I have shown an assembly of linkages. Various links are shown here, which consists of various joints named as binary joint, ternary and quaternary. What is a binary joint, what is a ternary, what is a quaternary joint is, if two links are connected at one location, then it is called binary joint. If two links, because the name itself saying binary, two. If two links are connected at one location, it is called binary joint. The similar way, if three links are connected at one connection, which is known as a ternary joint. And if four links are connected at one location, it is called quaternary joint. 4 links and here 3 links. 3 links connection is called ternary, 4 links connection is called quaternary. And the ternary joint, one ternary joint is equivalent to 2 binary joints. One ternary joint is equal to 2 binary joints. How it is? You can consider, say A, B, C. All are connecting at one location, like say this is A, B, C. All are connected here. So this joint, which we call a ternary joint, which I am saying it is equivalent to two binary joints. How? A and B can be taken as one pair, and B and C can be taken as another pair. Okay? As per the definition of the binary joint, if the two links are joined at one location, which is called binary, so AB is one binary and BC is another binary. So the ternary is now 1 plus 1, 2 binary joints. Similar, if I add one more D, then I can say CD is another one, which is 3. A quaternary joint now, it is four links are connected at a location. That is why it is called quaternary joint. So these four links can be rearranged or rethink in the manner like AB1, BC1, CD1. So this is one binary, this is another binary, this is the last binary. So three binaries are going to form a joint called a quaternary joint. So if you look at this assembly of linkages, what it is available here clearly shown like BTQ. So you can see here B, where links are two connected at one location. And do you have any B here? Yes. So here this is 3 and 4. So these are the two binaries in this assembly. Okay. Then what about ternary? You can see here 1, 2, 3. Similar here 1, 2, 3. Here 1, 2, 3. And you can see in a similar manner another ternaries 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So all the yellow colors are showing a ternary joints. And finally quaternary joint. So as per the definition, we said where there are four links are connected at one location. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is quaternary. So you can see here there are two binary joints and 6 ternary joints and 1 quaternary joint. So why this is required means in the subsequent portion when I enter into finding the degrees of freedom, so I will have different types of joints, either binary joint or a ternary joint or a quaternary joint. But we use in the equation all are in binary joints form. That is why you need this concept very clear. Okay, let me repeat once again. So what is a binary joint? A binary joint is a one where two number of links are joined at one location. And coming to the ternary joint where 3 links are connected at one location. So this is equal to 2 binary joints. Finally, like quaternary joint where 4 links are connected at one location, then 3 binary joints equal. In general, we can write one statement. In general, suppose if n number of links are connected at a one instant, one location, then that is equivalent to n minus 1 binary joints. If the links are n links connected at one place, connected at one location, which is equal to n minus 1 binary joints. You keep this in your mind, so wherever we require either 4, 3 or 5, 6, then you can easily convert them into this formula, n minus 1 binary joints in case of n links are connected at one location. Okay, now let us move to the degrees of freedom. Okay, that is the main objective of today's lecture, which is very, very important in finding the mechanism, how many ways it can move by using two criteria, Grubler's criteria and Kuchbach's criteria. So let us see first, before I enter into the degrees of freedom, a rigid body, how it can move in free space. So you take a rigid body is taken like this in free space. This rigid body in free space can move how many ways? Let us see. Take the example, this is a body. This body is a rigid body. It can move like three translational motions. It can move x direction, if I consider this is x, and it can move y direction, and it can also move in the z direction. Look at once again. This body can be translated like this, and this also can be moved vertically up and down, and it also can be moved forward and backward like this. So irrespective of left or right, top or bottom, front or back, the total entity is taken as a single. That means this is 1 degree, this is the 2nd degree, this is the 3rd degree. 3 translational motions. This body in a free space. Then coming to the rotation of this can rotate like this, okay, or it can rotate like this, either clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is one rotation, and at the same time it can also revolve like this. This is either clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is another one. So, and at the same time it can rotate like this. So there are 3 rotational and 3 translational. The same thing I have shown here. Let us see, like this is moving this way or this way. One translation, moving up, moving down is another translation. Then moving in this way is the 3rd translation. Okay, then rotations are concerned. There are 3 rotations. One is it can roll like this, and it can roll, spin like this, and it can roll like this. That means finally it have 3 translational and 3 rotational motions, which are 3 mutually perpendicular planes, x, y, z. That is total 6 degrees of freedom. A body, a rigid body positioned in the free space. This is a free body, a rigid body in free space. So no motion is constrained. It is allowed to move in any way in the space. It is 3 translation and 3 rotation. So total degrees of freedom are 6. 6 degrees of freedom, a rigid body in free space. So if you want to form a mechanism, one of the links should be fixed. So that means the motion of one particular thing has to be constrained. That is either x direction or y direction or z direction or whatever it may be. One of the motion to be constrained. So you can say in that case degrees of freedom can be simply written as, if you constrain some number of motions, then degrees of freedom is equal to 6 minus number of restraints. That means if you arrest to move in x direction or y direction or z direction, then how many translational motions you arrest, that number you can incorporate. At the same time, if the rotations also prevented, then those also incorporated. Then you can see this is 6 minus number of restraints. Suppose if I restraint like rotating in one direction, this is rotation prevented. Then 6 minus 1 rotation prevented gives the 5 degrees of freedom. Like you can change. Now I will go for the degrees of freedom definition by various authors or various writers or various researchers, how they have defined. So I have shown just now a basic concept of a rigid body in free space, how it can move and how it can be prevented. Based upon the prevention, how we can write its degrees of freedom. Then you can see various statements I have given here. Degrees of freedom for a kinematic pair is given by number of independent coordinates required to completely specify the relative moment. This is one definition. The degrees of freedom of a kinematic pair is defined as the number of independent coordinates. Look at very clearly the word independent coordinates. Why I am stressing this very much is, so yesterday we have discussed one of the pair, even just now also I have completed that, a screw pair where a nut and screw is having a relative motion like sliding and turning. So sliding and turning, but we cannot say they are two different motions, because unless you rotate it will not slide, unless you roll it, nut and bolt, you roll it, it will not slide. So there they are dependent motions. It is connected with one motion to the another motion. That's why we have to focus on independent, not dependent. Independent coordinates are required to completely specify the relative moment. Then same thing we can apply for the mechanism is number of independent coordinates needed to define the position of the element or mechanism. Element or mechanism. Okay, so after this lecture we will go for the lecture called single slider crank chain mechanism, where I will tell you that having 1 degree of freedom. So at that moment I will explain once again this concept of 1 degree of freedom, how it is attained, or what is 1 degree of freedom. So first it is defined for a pair, degrees of freedom. Now I am same thing applying for a mechanism. Independent coordinates needed to define the position of the or element or a mechanism. Similar, you can also define like this: number of parameters needed to determine unambiguously the geometry configuration of a system in a space. Number of parameters needed to determine unambiguously the geometry configuration of a system in a space. So all these statements more or less are in a similar way. It gives the final gist, but the expressive way is different. And final, once again, the number of inputs needed to obtain a predictable output mechanism. So this last sentence is connected to the types of motion which we have defined just now: completely constrained, incompletely constrained. So look at those examples. Say a shaft with collars, isn't it? Even it can be rolled or it can be longitudinally reciprocated, but that longitudinal reciprocate motion is not permitted because of the end constraints. So here what we are saying, a number of inputs needed to obtain a predictable output mechanism. That means how the mechanism is going to move, that is going to be decided by in advance perfectly by how many ways it can move. That is what we can say the degrees of freedom. So there are various definitions are there, saying one is for pairs and another for mechanism, and it is related to free space, and this is talking about types of constrained motions. But as a nutshell, as a whole, we can say a degrees of freedom is nothing but how many ways that object can move in free space with the given constraints is called degrees of freedom. It is called degrees of freedom. Now you can think of the realistic cases, like there is a star in the space. Star in space. This star can move any direction x, y, z, and it can roll x, y, z, zx. So that is having 6 degrees of freedom. So that is what here, like time being assumed this is a star, isn't it? Okay, and by preventing this in a different ways, the degrees of freedom is going to be reduced. Now let us come to, this is what we have discussed now up to this is in free space. That is a 3-dimensional. That is applicable for spatial mechanisms. Spatial mechanisms. Yesterday we have talked about 2 types of mechanisms, that is planar mechanisms and spatial mechanisms. Spatial mechanisms are one where the entire mechanism will move in all 3 planes x, y, z, zx. That is called spatial mechanism. Suppose if your mechanism is confined to only 2-dimensional, that is in one plane, that is either xy plane or yz plane or zx plane. This is called planar mechanism. Planar mechanism. Planar mechanism. So a simple classical example for a planar mechanism I will show you by taking a simple in a link. You can assume there is a link like this. There is a link like this. This link can be moved like this, and this link can be moved like this. That means I can move in the x plane and I can move in the y plane, but this cannot be moved in the z plane because I don't have a z plane. I said it is a 2-dimensional. So I have 2 longitudinal and transverse motions. One in like this, one is like this, and another one is like this. I can move either this way or either move this way. 2 motions. Then coming to the rotation, how I said first to translation. Now it is a rotation. It can be rolled. It can be rolled. You cannot roll other than this. You can roll only this. You cannot roll like this, and you cannot roll like this. Isn't it? You can only turn the entire link like this, rotation in this way. You cannot roll like this, and you cannot roll like this because your jet plane is not considered either xy or yz or zx. You can take any one, like in this plane or in this plane or in this plane. 3 different planes, like This is one plane, this is another plane, this is another plane. So say if I call this is X, this is Y, this is Z. This is ZX plane and this is YZ plane, this is XY plane. So it can be, body may be in this plane or in this plane or in this plane. If it is in this plane, you have two translations, Y and Z, and rotation YZ. If it is in this, Z and X and ZX rotation. If it is in this plane, X and Y and XY rotation. So a body in a free space is at 6 degrees of freedom. A body in a plane, in a two-dimensional, will have maximum degrees of freedom is 3. 2 translational and 1 rotation. That is 3 degrees of freedom. Now let us see what is Kurzbach's criteria or Grubler's criteria. It is actually both are same. So it is a funny, some others will call it as Kurzbach's criteria, some others call it as a Grubler's criteria, by just making some simple statement difference and arriving 2 different things. So more or less this is same, either Grubler's criteria or Kurzbach's criteria. So what this criteria deals and how we can arrive an equation for a degrees of freedom. So it is undergraduate classes, we take the mechanism, not spatial mechanisms, only planar mechanisms, where maximum degrees of freedom is 3. That is why I am defining it for maximum 3 degrees of freedom. Or else if you want to consider for a spatial mechanism, then 6 degrees of freedom will comes into the picture, then the equation will be different. Now let us confine to a two-dimensional plane and maximum of 3 degrees of freedom. Suppose there are L number of links in a mechanism, and we know that if it has to form a mechanism means one of the links should be fixed. That means if the total links are L, then one of the links should be fixed, then the remaining links are L minus 1. So in a mechanism, total number of links are L. So if it has to be formed a mechanism means one of the links should be fixed. If I fix one of the link, then remaining links is L minus 1. And we are considering the two-dimensional system or a planar mechanism. I said in planar mechanism, maximum degrees of freedom is 3. So number of links are L minus 1. Then total degrees of freedom for this is 3L minus 1. L minus 1 is the number of links. Each link will have 3 degrees of freedom. Okay. Then the total number of degrees of freedom for that is 3 into L minus 1. So we can apply this if a mechanism with a number of joints with lower pairs and higher pairs, how this equation can be rewritten. In a general mechanism with L number of links and connected by J number of binary joints and H number of higher pairs. So very beginning of this lecture we talked about lower pair and higher pair. Higher pair is where there is a line contact or a point contact, where lower pair is a surface contact. So here we are talking J number of binary joints are lower pairs. J stands for lower pairs, H stands for higher pairs, isn't it? So in that case, the degrees of freedom can be written as the total degrees of freedom for the all links is 3 into L minus 1, whereas for the mechanism degrees of freedom is 3L minus 1 minus 2J minus H. So 3L minus 1 minus 2J minus H. This is called Grubler's criteria. What we said here is number of links are L in a mechanism where one link should be fixed. Then total movable links are L minus 1 and each link will have 3 degrees of freedom. Then all links will have 3 into L minus 1 degrees of freedom. Then if it forms a mechanism, then the mechanism degrees of freedom is given by 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j minus h, where j stands for lower pairs, h stands for higher pairs, or j stands for a binary joints and h stands for number of higher pairs. In case if the mechanism there are no higher pairs are there, no higher pairs, that means h is 0. Then if I write h value as 0, then the degrees of freedom will be simply converted as 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j. This is called Kuchbach's criteria. So there is no novelty in these two, either this or that, as a calling as a different name. Only might be others named it, or the two different scientists have invented this simultaneously at two different situations, might be named it two different criteria. Otherwise, it looks same, Grubler's criteria as well as the Kuchbach's criteria. So now I will apply this for a various mechanisms. Let us see how I can use that formula, that is 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j minus h. Take a 3-bar mechanism. Basically this cannot be called as a mechanism. Why it cannot be called as a mechanism, I will tell you a bit later. So 3-bar mechanism, let us say number of links here are 3 and number of binary joints are 3. Then the degrees of freedom here it is written 3 into 3 minus 1 minus 2 into 3. Number of links are 3, 3 minus 1 and number of joints are 3, then 0. Degrees of freedom is 0. So this is called structure. So degrees of freedom 0 is called structure. A mechanism with 0 degrees of freedom is called structure. Then coming to the another mechanism, 4-bar mechanism, where the total links are 4 and joints are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then all are binary joints. Then if I incorporate in this equation, this is 3 into n minus 1, that is 4 minus 1 minus 2 into 4. So degrees of freedom, what we have written, 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j minus h. So there is no higher pair, h is 0. Then binary joints are 4, 2 into 4. Then the degrees of freedom for this mechanism is 1. Then come to this, a 5-bar mechanism, where there are 5 links are there and joints are also 5. 5 links and 5 joints are there. So if I write it 3 into 5 minus 1 minus 2 into 5, which gives me degrees of freedom is 2. These are very simple because there are no joints other than binary joints. All are binary joints and all are connected by lower pairs. That is a turning pairs, which is a surface contact, which is called lower pair. Now let us see the two typical cases I have given here to find out degrees of freedom, this and this. So you can see here, this consists of like binary links, ternary links. This is a ternary link and these are binary links. So it consists of binary joints and ternary joints. Let me write the same equation. Degrees of freedom is 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j, because I don't have a higher pair here, h is 0. So how many total links are there? Let us see first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see here 7, 3, 4 are quaternary links. Sorry, ternary links. They are ternary links. They are ternary links. So within the link there is no relative motion. Don't consider this is separate, this is separate, this is separate, this is separate, this is separate. That means there is no relative motion between these. No relative motion between these. No relative motion between these. So they are single entities. So number of links are 8. That is 3 into 8 minus 1 minus 2 into binary joints. We have already discussed a ternary link is equivalent to a ternary joint is equivalent to 2 binary joints. Let me first count the binaries, then I will go for the ternaries. Binary 1, then binary 2, isn't it? Then binary 3, then binary 4, binary 5, then binary 6, then this is also a binary 7, this is also a binary 8. Then what is left out of all this? You can see one of the joint here I have not marked because this is not a binary joint. This is one link, this is another link, this is another link. 3 links are connected at one location. That is why it is called ternary joint. So one ternary joint is equal to 2 binary joints. This is what I have defined very beginning. So now, how many numbers we have completed? 8. Then this is 2. So 8 plus 2, total is 10 binary joints. Then 2 into 10. 3 into 8 minus 1, 2 into 10. So 7 into 3, 21, minus 2 into 10, 20, which is 1. Degrees of freedom is 1. So it is not so simple like looking them and counting and writing in the equation. And look at the other example, a beautiful example, which consists of lower pairs and higher pairs. The equation holds good here also same. Degrees of freedom is equal to 3 into L minus 1 minus 2J minus H. Look at here, how many links are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? 5. 3 into 5 minus 1. Well, minus, where is lower pairs, where is higher pairs? Of course, at preliminary cases position now, you may not be in a position to tell which is lower pair and which is higher pair. But I will tell you here, this is a higher pair. So a common follower like this, even though you can see here it is like an area, it is not area, it is a point contact or a line contact, which is called higher pair, higher pair. And what about all these things? This is a pin, another pin, like pins. These are binary joints because here there is a turning pair, turning pairs. How many turning pairs are there? 5 turning pairs or 5 binary joints minus 2 into 5. Higher pair. How many higher pairs are there? So there is only one higher pair, that is this. One higher pair minus 1. So 3 into 5 minus 1 minus 2 into 5 minus 1. That gives 12 minus 10 minus 1, which is 1 degree of freedom. Okay, so these are some of the typical cases. You can refer the book to identify very complex and very simple problems, how you have to use your brain and how you have to identify the joints, ternary, quaternary and convert it into binary, and identifying lower pairs and higher pairs. Okay, so this is what the degrees of freedom, how we calculate degrees of freedom for a mechanism. That is what we have discussed in today's lecture. Okay, let me finish in giving a brief, the total summary in 2 minutes. A free body in a space will have 6 degrees of freedom. A body without any constraints in a free space will 6 degrees of freedom. That means it can move any 3 translational and 3 rotational motions. But to form a mechanism, we have to constrain one of the motion of any one link. So spatial mechanisms and planar mechanisms already we discussed. Spatial mechanisms will move in 3-dimensional and planar mechanisms will move in 2-dimensional. So in a 2-dimensional, that is a planar mechanism where the object can be having 2 translational motions and 1 rotation. So the link will have maximum 3 degrees of freedom. Suppose if the same thing is used in a mechanism, if it consists of n number of links, okay, one of the link is fixed, then all the links will possess the maximum degrees of freedom is 3 into L minus 1. One link is fixed. And they are connected to form a kinematic chain or to form a mechanism which consists of binary and ternary or a quaternary, lower pairs, higher pairs, whatever it is as per the requirement of the mechanism. Then we can write an equation called, that is 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j minus h, which deals with the degrees of freedom, total number of links with lower pairs and higher pairs or binary joints. So this is given an equation or a criteria called Grubler's criteria, 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j minus h. And if the mechanism doesn't have a higher pair, h can be written as 0, then simply that equation will be converted 3 into L minus 1 minus 2j, which is called Kuchbach's criteria. Okay, so in the next lecture we will see a mechanism and inversions of mechanism and a slider crank chain mechanism, that is a 4-bar chain mechanism, in the next lecture. I request you to practice the problems on the degrees of freedom from any one textbook, either your SS Ratan or Kurmi. There are more number of problems are available in the book, both solved and unsolved mode. Okay, thank you.